After a short wait from its initial release, we can see what the events in Donkey Kong Bonanza will look like. Before I got the chance to jump in and earn my statues, Hibby Sloth and Skips flagged this interesting little update from the Japanese Nintendo News app that people sharing Japanese Twitter. On November 25th, we will have the opportunity to nab statues of Chunky and Lanky Kong in the Hilltop Layer event. This was always technically on the table given we had On Guard as part of this event, but it's surprising and delightful all the same. After all these years, we are going to see these characters inside of a major Donkey Kong game. I know that they're just statues, but this is a big moment. We haven't seen these guys rendered on a system more powerful than the Wii. Okay, technically the Wii U if you want to count the Lanky Kong statue from Smash, but I'm thinking this one will be a lot more detailed, and you can turf surf on it. More importantly, I'm wondering how these characters will translate into this new era of Donkey Kong. While I doubt they'll receive a significant facelift, there are a lot of minor tweaks to Diddy and Dixie that were fun to see. Will Chunky look like his recent movie appearance, or will they preserve his trademark dopey look? Well, it turns out we got our answer a little earlier than expected. On November 4th, they just casually updated the in-game system for event distribution and dropped the goods unceremoniously there. My focus had shifted to Nintendo's recent earnings report when they just popped our boys into the game willy-nilly. Let's talk about their design. First off, I gotta say I love this Chunky Kong pose. It says so much about his character. He's a little dopey, a gentle giant, here for comedy relief, but he has some heart too. I'm sure all of you DK64 people recognize this pose. It's the one in the game where if you let him stand idle for long enough, he'll let some butterflies crowd around him before swatting them away in, classic Chunky fashion. There's a lot of different directions that a redesign of Chunky could have gone, but this is the best one. His legs are a little shorter, his clothes seem to fit a little tighter on him. He's more like stubby and imposing. I dare say, he seems a bit more, chunky. Lanky's looking good too. He seems to be in his handstand. He can do that when he needs to. They seem to elongate his schnoz and make his eyes gel more with his overall look. They're really emphasizing that this Kong has a funny face. They both got extra fingers and toes. This is an interesting little adjustment. I think it has something to do with the animation norms in the West versus Japan, but I'm sure Cartoon Gamer will clear that up in the comments. Overall, I think these guys look really good. I am well pleased. They're really faithful to the original designs while giving them the sort of touch-ups that you would have expected Rare to do anyway if they were, never acquired! This opens up a bunch of other questions though, like who else will they bring into the fold? We'll get into some predictions later, but first, let's tackle this first event. When I jumped back into the game, I was greeted with a message that an event was going on. Talking to Void on the surface triggers the event, and it looks like we're keeping it locked to DK Isle this time around. Depending on my score, I can earn a good chunk of Bonandium chips alongside the Engard and Kong Bonanza statues. This isn't any ordinary Emerald Rush though. Certain skills will rise to the top more often, providing a more targeted experience. I'm a one-trick pony, so I pulled my usual shenanigans of avoiding hearts and Bonanza forms like the plague. While this would usually bring me a bunch of success, I was shooting myself in the foot here. As I picked up fossils, I started to realize what this challenge was designed to do. Later on in your Void card, you unlock some really powerful perks, Magic Wallet and Smelting Green. While Bonandium chips can be really useful for reclaiming skills, I tried to hold on to as many as possible to take advantage of these particular perks. There are some other cool ones like Chip Magnet, auto-collecting emerald ore at a constant rate based on how many chips you have on hand. Chip Hoarder is a chip-based multiplier, and skills like Chip Thief let you collect chips a lot faster. Did I say chips enough? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This challenge is super easy. It seems like it's designed to help players understand the power of stacking like-minded skills. I was running the wrong strategy up until the halfway point of the challenge, but I still managed to hit a V rank anyway. I think they want the player base to get acclimated before they introduce something that's a little more tough. Considering that this is the only way to earn those statues, I'm totally fine with it being overly easy. If you want more of a challenge, go for a higher score. And I heard Uncle Al topped 5 million. I hit 6.3 million on my second try, although my Delgado recorded that run as a creepypasta for some reason. I'm probably gonna give it another run soon and see if I can push it even higher. With a lot of the elements being loosely controlled, I can pre-plan my strategy more. With any roguelite, luck and RNG are major factors, but with this stage, I keep revisiting ways to make the run more efficient because I can control certain variables. It's not a revolution on the Emerald Rush concept by any means, but it's enough of a curveball to bring me right back to the mode despite having 100%ed it already. I'm not sure yet how I feel about this being some limited time thing, but at the moment I'm enjoying having a reason to pop into the game. If you haven't beaten Emerald Rush, this might be a fun way to experience it at a slower pace. The chip rewards should help you in that pursuit of getting every trophy. For my money, I wanted to get my hands on that Engard statue. As I returned to the overworld, I was greeted with the Kong Bonanza statue. It's cool, but not really mind-blowing considering considering that I am the Kong Bonanza in the game. He's hitting a sick pose though. I found Engard at the base of DK's house, and he's looking as Engard as ever. He's a very simple design, so it's not really setting my world on fire, but it's good to see him again. Rambi and Squawks have been the only approved animal buddies for like 15 years, so it's nice to see them acknowledge the existence of literally anyone else. At first it seemed like this trophy had been like touched up from Super Smash Bros. Brawl or something, but looking at it and comparing it, I think there's just not a lot of different ways to pose a swordfish. It's kind of hard to read because of the gold sheen, but it seems like they went in between the rare and Payon design for his color, as well as the stiffness of his sword nose thing. What do you call that on a swordfish? He's looking good, but also a little bit lonely up there. So it begs the question, who else are we going to see here? Well, there's two ways to answer that question. What I think we'll see and what I want to see. Let's start within the realm of probability. There are 9 Emerald Rush compatible layers that we don't have any information about yet. I'm sure they could do as many statues as they want, but I imagine they'll keep the cadence of 2 per layer as we've seen thus far. That gives us 18 statues to represent some of our longtime favorite characters. Before we can get into speculating, however, we have to subtract another 4 from this total for the Bonanza forms that we haven't seen yet. That leaves us with 14 slots in a franchise absolutely stuffed with memorable characters. Let's start with the shoo-ins. We're getting Lanky and Chunky, so you know what's coming down the pike. Tiny Kong will likely get a statue to fill out the DK64 roster. She's already been referenced heavily in New Donk City as well, making this an easy dunk. Some of you might be thinking about which Tiny Kong we'll get, the original or the very tall redesign. They could do both, but I think they'll stick to one statue in her original design. Funky Kong left a bunch of his stuff laying around DK Isle. He can't have gone too far. We see his bandana in Squawk's shack, along with a few tropical free surfboards around the island, and his original rare board is in DK's house. Did Donkey Kong steal it? With Funky being playable in Mario Kart and Tropical Freeze, I'm liking his chances a lot. He's even featured in the recent LEGO sets. Couple all that with his theme park references? Yeah. He's a shoo-in. Candy Kong has a portrait in DK's house along with some mentions in Diddy and Dixie's dialogue in the racing layer. I think she's a safe bet to come back in the soft redesign we see in the portrait. Speaking of N64 designs, I think Wrinkly is coming back and she's gonna be a ghost again. It's bittersweet for me. I think the ghost gag is hilarious, but my favorite Wrinkly will always be the one doing Pilates in Mario 64 in the save cave. I think they need to make a Kiddy Kong statue. He's one of the playable Kongs from the original trilogy, and it's time for him to embark on his redemption arc. I didn't think much of him one way or the other as a kid playing DKC3, but now that I have kids of my own, I find his design absolutely amusing. With Engard making his way in, we've opened the floodgates to animal buddies. I think we're gonna get a good chunk of them. Espresso and Winky would round out DKC1, while Rattly and Squitter could represent DKC2. For the third game, I'm thinking we'll get Ellie. A bunch of these creatures already have 3D models made for the Super Smash Bros. Series trophies, so theoretically they could be used as a base to cut down on the workload. With those staple characters accounted for, that leaves 4 slots left. This is where things get pretty tricky and speculative, but what I'm imagining is that they'll go the route of referencing some of the other games from Donkey Kong's history. While they could put characters like Clump or Swanky Kong in, I imagine they will want to call back to other Donkey Kong games, many of which are conveniently available on the Switch or NSO app. For the lowest hanging fruit, I imagine they'll do some sort of arcade DK callback. I would love a gigantic statue that has girders with a crispy 8-bit DK on top, maybe Mario and Pauline to round it out. Zananab is an absolutely bizarre character that feels right at home hanging around a bunch of fractones. Like the animal buddies, there's a Smash model to work off of already, and it would call back to one of the lesser known entries in the series. We got Professor Chops as a fossil already, so I think we'll get a Snowman to rep Tropical Freeze. I imagine they would either use a regular foot soldier or Lord Frederick, though I'm leaning more toward the Penguin. Bonanza is going to act as a gateway into the series for many newcomers, and they wouldn't want to completely spoil the final bosses of the retro games before they had the chance to play them. Rounding things out, I think we gotta get a Jungle Beat callback. This was the start of the studio that made this game, and it's a fun part of DK's history. What will they use to represent it? I have no idea. There's a bunch of cool animal buddies and bosses to choose from, but they could also do a helper monkey. That fills our missing 14 slots. We have plenty of representation from the country era with some Payon and retro peppered in for taste. Whatever the case, it's going to be really interesting to see all these characters in the same place again, even if they are just statues. Now that's what I think we're going to get. Here's what I want to get. It's been long enough. I don't know what he did to be so thoroughly punished, but I want Donkey Kong Jr. back. I know timeline-wise, that's technically the DK that we play as, but this would be the perfect opportunity opportunity to use him again.
While we're on the subject of shattering the timeline, let's shatter the multiverse too.
I want Bluster Kong. I imagine they would stay away from the cartoon, but he's just honestly one of the funniest characters in the Donkey Kong pantheon. We never got any payoff from those balloons in the lagoon layer, but I want to see a modern interpretation of the Brothers Bear. I feel like they fleshed out the world of DKC 3, and Bonanza as a whole was pretty light on references from that entry. On that subject, I would scream for a gigantic Banana Bird Queen statue. K-Lumsy would also be really funny to see towering over every other statue. I don't expect them to go for these deep cuts, but I feel like there's a certain charm to these characters. They're this impossible mix of strange, cool, and humorous that really showcases the character design chops of the series.
It's fun to dream about the possibilities. No matter what direction they head in, however, we already won. I will admit it's a small victory, and perhaps it's a little much to be celebrating this much over a bunch of 3D models, but it's a victory lap that makes DK's big comeback all the sweeter.
We've waited too long for this franchise and its cast of endearing characters to return as a priority for Nintendo. I can't wait to dive in and chase those high scores and goodies.
I'm aware most YouTube channels do this as engagement bait, but I'm legitimately curious. What are your top picks for the statues you want to see?
Stanley the Bugman, Pink Donkey Kong Jr., the mini Donkey Kongs from the beta version of Jungle Beat?
Write me in the comments and I'll pin one of the lists that tickles my fancy. After you type that out, check out my previous Emerald Rush video if you missed it. Or don't. It's really your call.